Welcome to the show, Zach. Good to be here.
The man,
Hey
the
guys,
man with
thanks for having me.
the man with no X account.
Oh yeah,
No,
you're the second guest I think in show history to not be on X. What's going on? I mean, are you not into technology and business?
what's truly tragic is I'm in totally a Twitter, like I've actually blocked Twitter on my phone because I use it so often. I just never post, I only
Yeah.
read.
Okay.
So clearly I need to become more involved in the scene and
You
actually post
should. You
something. So
should.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you create one tonight after the show closes, we'll tag you in the clips. We'll try and get some audience.
No, or you
going
can,
your
or you
direction.
can never post, never
Just
even
come on the
use
show.
the app. Just come on the show. We'll clip it up, and then we'll
Yeah.
post it for you, and you could get all the benefits with none of the
Yeah.
time invested, other than
Like
15
he's so
minutes here.
elusive. He doesn't
Yeah,
even have an
yeah.
account, yet I'm seeing him
Yeah.
all over X in these viral clips. I love it. Anyway, can you do a brief introduction on you, the company, kind of what you're building?
Sure. Thanks so much. I'm Zach. We're building Conductor AI, a company designed to automate paperwork in the government. And yeah, that's what we're doing.
What's the first go to market? Who's the first customer?
Sure.
What's the first piece of paperwork that you're automating?
Sure. So we are working with the Air Force, the Office of the Secretary of Defense, and a few other defense customers around problems like security classification, foreign military sales, ITAR controls, and things that are these very important and very sensitive document review workflows that if you've spent a lot of time working with the Department of Defense, you will unfortunately encounter that we are trying to hopefully make it easier to deal with.
How much?
Just
of this
how
is-
how much paperwork does the government do? Is it?
Oh.
I feel like it's a lot, but I think it's probably more than I'm even imagining.
Yeah, so the government, there's internal estimates they spend basically like $18 billion a year on classifying information. And it's this very complicated apparatus that has grown over the years to ensure that, we keep secrets safe. But one of the unfortunate byproducts of having a complicated and expensive classification apparatus, it can make it very, very hard to actually get information to the people that need it. And so there are many, many separate chains in the government around how you can share and approve and release information. And Conductor is trying to make it easier to solve that problem, and then other problems where you have these like very complex approval processes and navigate through them.
How much of this is just going from like paperwork to a modern, CRUD app using standard software as a service versus AI, agents, LLMs, all the on-trend tech?
So the people in the government that are doing this, they actually often have some form of system here for this. What we're actually seeing is the people that are sort of doing these, that are sort of these adjudicators that have these very important jobs of saying, yes, you can say this, no, you can't. They're sort of in charge of these complex approval process. The challenge for them is there's not just like one page of rules or like one document. Oh, this is the rules to follow. There's like 20,000 pages of policy that they are supposed to have read and follow and apply on each of these cases. And obviously that's incredibly hard. And so what we're trying to do is make it easier to more quickly read and apply those that very complicated policy guidance to those 4 PowerPoint slides that you're trying to.
Yeah, when you're working with the government like this, are you following like the standard defense tech sales playbook, like SBIR, program of record, or is it just a completely different sales motion for you?
So I worked at Palantir for 7 years before this, so we have some familiarity there. SIBRs are great. They're not all worth the same. Our very first contract that we got was a SIBR, but unfortunately we haven't won another one since then. So since then it's all been getting OTAs and subawards off of existing contract vehicles. But yeah, the go-to-market motion in the government is, I mean, frankly, like, it's fortunate I worked at Palantir, so I sort of like saw how this worked from a best-in-class perspective. But if I was a 23-year-old just starting out, I have no idea how you'd figure out how to navigate this world. It is not friendly to outsiders.
Yeah.
Is it weirdly frustrating when you see just how much the government spends on tons of random things, and yet you're selling them a product where you're like, this is going to save you a bunch of like time and through that save you money if you just sort of adopted it, because it's or is it almost like a positive feature that it's hard for the government to start even if they know they want something, it can be hard to get onboarded and
Yeah, it's more the latter there. It's like the thing that's I found pretty interesting is that sort of these challenges you have of how hard it is to break in, how hard it is to get these first contracts are in some ways the defensibility from a company perspective, right? It's that like it does take a super long time to get your foot in the door with these organizations and then build trust. But to a large extent, because of how much process there is, once you're in, there is a bit of a word of mouth. So I think that's like, I don't have a Twitter, but there's people in the government and various like means that people communicate in the government. And that's sort of where, if you're in the defense tech space, you want to be more present, if you will.
How much of your company is built on like this thesis that there would at some point be a shift towards like government efficiency, and then you maybe hit the jackpot with like Doge becoming like the biggest meme in government maybe ever. But it seems like some of the, like, even though Doge has been somewhat controversial and partisan, people have gone back to, like Joe Biden was quoted talking about efficiency, and Obama was quoted thinking about this process, and Clinton was saying this again. And so government efficiency could be something that becomes bipartisan, could stick around for a very long time. And you suspected that this was going to be an ongoing trend. Was that part of the thesis behind starting the company?
Yeah. I mean, frankly, well, part of the thesis was just I lived it and I'd seen all of these processes. So like you knew, it was very clear to me early on, and as AI became very popularized, that there were so many of these complicated paperwork approvals process that I'd experienced and been frustrated by. I do believe that, I think that making the government more efficient is a good thing. I think that Doge is certainly, is now definitely a partisan effort, but I think it's inarguable that we can make the US government operate more effectively. And I personally believe that that's a really good thing to do, is we want the government to be more effective. What I want to make sure, when these processes though they're not fake, like they're very real. Like I don't personally believe that you should be allowed to build any form of weapon and then sell it externally with no form of review process. Like these are important, complicated procedures to review what constitutes a weapon, what doesn't. Like these are actual questions, and those processes shouldn't just be discarded or written of as like, oh, that's unnecessary government bureaucracy. But we do want to make it possible to navigate those complicated chains without it being a 3-year cycle.
How do you think about you're creating workflows, but then and so you guys are a software company, but you inevitably, I'm sure, run into these sort of like offline workflows. And is that I'm guessing, right, in sense of like, hey, like this was approved, but we need to take it to this other building to get this other person to sign off on it. And it's like, is that the right read, or no, can you fully digitize it?
You definitely do see that. Like I can tell you that my colleague, Eric, like some workflows are on classified networks, and you can only access classified networks in certain spaces. So we are literally flying to places to go to upload forms to say, yes, we can be deployed into this network so that our software can be deployed to perform this type of document review. So you definitely see this challenge around, there's only certain access points, and that just is the reality of it. It's going to take a while, and there's a lot of process to be automated.
You mentioned like 20,000 pages of rules. That seems like you might need a large context window for some of these problems if you're throwing an LLM at it. What are you tracking in the progress of the foundation models? I imagine you're not using DeepSeek. Maybe you're taking a look at Llama. What are you excited about in terms of foundation model breakthroughs? Is it just IQ, or is it RAG, or any of these kind of buzzwords that we're hearing about?
Yeah. So one of the challenges that we deal with is the state of the art, like the GPT 4.5, Gemini 2.5. They're really, really good at a lot of this, but in the networks that we're operating, and for a lot of our government customers, they can't yet access those. So for us, there's this it's like really an engineering tension. It's like we can see, oh my God, this is going to work so well
Yeah.
in 2 years when these models get accredited to be available in your network. But for now, it's what is the state of the art model that we can actually deploy and run in these more resource constrained environments. One of the ways that we're working around this problem now is, and I'm sure other companies at the workflow layer are doing something similar, is we're trying to disambiguate the user from we're trying to basically make it so that when like a user submits a request, they don't expect an answer instantly. And so if you think about how you interact with, like, if you were submitting, I don't know, if you ever renovated your apartment or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you probably had to get like a permit from the
Yeah.
Department of Buildings
exactly.
or something. You submitted your form into the Department of Buildings, and then someone got back to you maybe 3 months later or something like that. That we want to compare against that type of cycle time. So we want to have a workflow where you submit a document and then you get an email response 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's so fast. But if you're in like a UI layer of software and you upload a document and then it takes 10 minutes to process, that's actually kind of a bad user experience. So we want to try and drive it to like the human review side.
Totally.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
I was talking to Jordy about this a long time ago. Like in the permitting process, I wish that there was just a button like check permit compliance in the CAD software, right? And it would just be real time. Like you can't save the file if you're in violation, and then you just know that when you send it off, it's going to be approved, and that should be deterministic.
And this is so much of what we actually see, is that in these like complicated review, these complicated cases, so much of the stuff that like kicks you back is not some edge case question of, oh, is this permitted or not? It's like, you just don't understand what it is you're submitting. Like, and I apologize, I have to be like a little vague when I talk about like what these things are, but it's like, you just filled this out wrong. And like, I can tell you instantly, hey, you're going to get instantly rejected. Say this instead. And it's going to rather than taking 4 weeks and requiring like 9 separate signatures, you're going to be good to go. And the material information is almost identical. And that's the type of thing we're trying to push back to the user very quickly so that they understand, oh, this is a really hard question, but this is something that you can just get a yes on, if that makes sense.
A ton of sense. Any last questions?
Very cool.
I'm excited.
We recently went off our paper process. So once you're starting to,
we used to print out every topic that we would discuss. We'd print out the tweet and read it on the show.
Very, very complicated workflow.
Now we're going digital.
Yeah, we're going digital too. So we're glad that you're helping the government do the same. It's been much more efficient.
It has been more efficient for us.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
And the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you guys.
Hopefully, hope to see you on X.
Oh yeah, I'll make sure I create an account. Talk to you guys soon.
There we go.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Bye.
Zach.